Miami has made its selection at number 5 overall, and it is Tua Tagovailoa. They didn't even have to tank for him. Miami Dolphins select Tua Tagovailoa out of Alabama.
Tua being chased from the pocket. He is hit and throws the ball on the near side. Tua is not getting up. Tua's helmet is off, and he is not getting up.
I'm doing good. We're on track to make a full recovery. I'm grateful to have the parents that I have to have helped me throughout my recovery process, and it was a tough one.
What do you think you want to showcase?
I feel I need to show everything. I just want to go out there and leave nothing on the board.
He's got all the tools and intangibles, man. The quick release, the ability to throw at every single level, the type of football you need to. He anticipates extremely well.
He can put that ball anywhere he wants to, whenever he wants to.
Tua's going to be an absolute star.
The Dolphins make it official, going with Tua Tagovailoa at number 5. Brady, the tape doesn't lie, and you love his tape.
I love the tape. I love the pick. I love the fit. And I think, this is also something that makes a lot of sense. Let's go back to the injury history real quick, because that seems to be what everyone's concerned about. And last time I checked, we're not all doctors out there. So if you do go back through the 2 ankle surgeries in particular, those were surgeries in order for him to get back to play sooner. They're elective surgeries, meaning he chose to have surgery. Alabama may have pushed that on him too a little bit, but he chose to do it to come back to play sooner. He didn't have to do it. He did it to come back to play against LSU, and he did it to come back to play in the semifinal game. So I have no concerns about that. I do have concerns about the hip. Obviously, the Dolphins don't, so it's not a big issue. I think the biggest question that needs to be asked is by our Pete Prisco, because he guaranteed us that Justin Herbert was going to go before Tua Tagovailoa, and clearly, Pete, that is not the case here.
Pete, what's the grade for this? We're giving you an F for your prediction that Herbert was going to go to Miami.
Well, first off, I never make a guarantee in anything as it relates to the NFL draft, okay? That much you know. I give this a B. I understand why they picked him. The tape is good at times. There's a lot of bad on that tape, Brady. And you keep talking about the elective surgeries. There were surgeries for a reason. The guy was hurt. There's obviously an injury if you have surgeries. And when you talk to NFL people, they were concerned about the amount of injuries that he's had. He's not a big guy. He's a little brittle. I hear you say that over and over. Oh, they're elective surgeries. Well, you don't just have surgery for any reason. You have surgery because there's a problem, and he's had issues. So to dismiss the medicals is ridiculous. From a football standpoint, I get it, but you can't just dismiss the medical part of it.
One good thing about Tua is he's got thick skin, kind of like Pete's thick skull. He doesn't seem to understand that the reason why he had the surgeries, Pete, was so he could come back to play sooner. He easily could have taken 4 to 6 weeks off, let it heal naturally. In both cases, he decided not to because, again, he's got fire in the belly, and he wanted to come back to play. That was why he had those 2 additional surgeries. It wasn't that he just didn't have the time frame to be able to wait and let it heal because he was playing football games. I hope you can understand that portion of it.
Was there an injury? Yes or no? Did he have surgery just because he didn't? No injury. I just decided I'm going to have surgery. Hey, Brady, my wrist is feeling really good, but I'm going to have elective surgery on it for the next 4 weeks.
Do you have a game
so I can
tomorrow?
sit here and type
Are you having surgery to come back and play the game sooner? If that's the case, then
I'm having surgery so I can type better in 4 weeks. Am I going to do that? No.
If you need to type for a game in 4 weeks, yeah, of course you would.
We all know Pete doesn't write anything anymore anyway. He just needs to keep that mouth working for us. By the way, Tua,
one of the predictions, Pete. Let's see how the rest of the night goes.
Tua is the first Bama quarterback to go top 10 since Richard Todd in 1976, and he's the first lefty selected top 10 since Matt Leinart in 2006. Last season, he had a better pass rating than Joe Burrow, but he only played in 9 games. Amanda Guerra and Dave Richard with more on the fantasy aspect in South Beach.
All right, Chris, thank you. Yes, let's bring in Dave Richard from Fantasy Football today to talk about Tua Tagovailoa going, in fact, to the Dolphins. You know, Dave, so much of this, we were looking at the 2 teams, the Dolphins and the Chargers, saying, you know, the Chargers will probably be the better fit for him. Alas, he is with the Dolphins. So what does this mean for Tua's fantasy production?
Is your mic on? I think so. Yeah, it's okay. The Dolphins don't have to rush him onto the field just because they take him at 5th overall. They've got Ryan Fitzpatrick, who finished last year.
A little bit trouble hearing Dave. We'll get his mic turned on. He's talking. You just can't hear him. So we're going to send it back to you, Chris, and we'll get him here in a second and see what he has to say.
You see the light bulb go off in his head? Oh, Damn it. Forgot to turn the mic on.
Well, one of the issues that I think you're seeing there is the communication, right? That was what we thought, though. We didn't think this was going to happen. We didn't think Tua was going to go where he was. There was a lot of smoke screens thrown up by Miami.
The Dolphins played everybody. I mean, you saw their faces. They're sitting there when they were on the clock. They weren't on the phone. They were just playing it up, saying, we know we got our guy. And I think they're laughing, saying, you know what? And this was the plan all along. When they traded away Laramie Tunsil, when they traded away Minka Fitzpatrick, they were accruing draft capital. I think they thought they were going to be the #1 pick, but they actually ended up getting more than what I think they even bargained for. Of course, they didn't expect Tua to have the injury risk there, but they got their guy. And that's what Dolphins fans, that's what Dolphins players, and Dolphins ownership have been desperate for, really, since Dan Marino was the quarterback there.
Oh,
it's been that long.
Dan Marino's name with Tua Tagovailoa is going to have high expectations.
And you see a little bit of that quick release. You know, I know Trent Dilfer had talked about that, some pieces of Tua's game. He's the one that worked with him for his pro day and his workout, but you see some of that. You see some of the Russell Wilson escapability and all that. The biggest thing Tua has to work on at the next level is going to be when he does create, when he does buy time and extend plays, he has to learn when to play for the next down, preserve his right to punt, and not take on the additional hits. Pete did touch on it. I mean, look, he's not quite as thick or as big as Russell Wilson, and that is a concern for him. If he's going to continue to play in a way that he had in college football that led to some injuries, you know, it's going to be concerning to see if he can stay healthy. So he's just got to learn to when to throw the football away and play for the next down.
I don't think he's as fast as he thinks he is. You know, like, I think you got to realize at the NFL, you got to get rid of the ball at times.
What do you think he's running a 40? Because I actually think he's faster than people give him credit.
I think he's probably like a 4.75, 4.7.
See, I think he's a 4.6 guy.
Right.
I think he's a lot faster when you watch him on tape running away from some LSU defending different people, maybe not that game, but you see him at times running away some pretty fast defenders. I think he actually would test better than people.
4.6 guy. Give us some perspective. What were you guys?
I was like it was a 4.7, 4, something like that. Russell was a 4.5 guy. I think Deshaun Watson's a 4.6 guy.
Yeah. Okay. Tua Tagovailoa goes number 5 overall to the Miami Dolphins. So, Danny, you think they played everybody?
I think they knew all along. I think, including mostly Pete Frisco. That was the guy they were playing the most. Yeah, I think they knew all along. I think they didn't want to show their hand. I thought they, wanted to make sure that nobody else maybe traded in front of them. I just think they played it perfectly.
I think the biggest thing now is what do they do with the next 2 picks that they have? How do they continue to build out around them? Because this offensive line needs a ton of help. And again, he's not the biggest guy, so you can't take a beating like we've seen with other guys who've been taken high in the draft without much help out around them.
Most importantly, one of the luxuries they may have. I know Tua says he's ready to go, but they've got Ryan Fitzpatrick, who maybe could start the first half of the season, kind of like Drew Lock and the Broncos last year. Take your time with Tua.
Okay, Miami has the 18th pick coming up, also the 26th pick in the first round.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.